All right. Well, I'm very excited for this conversation and have my good friend, Facebook friend. We've actually interacted with each other for several years. I've seen you online and in
Mm,
the communities that we're part of. So, Ivo Konstantinov. And we're having this conversation because we're both I was part of my Facebook group, Asking It Is Given, How Thoughts Become Things. And in that group, we explore really spiritual understandings that point to who we really are, our true nature, and the nature of reality. And there's a number of teachings that we explore in those groups. One of them is Sydney Banks and the Three
mm,
Principles. We explore Abraham Hicks. We explore non-duality. We explore A Course in Miracles, Eckhart Tolle. Like there's just a number of people all coming from different places. And there's some underlying theme or essence that all of them are pointing to using so many different words and styles and all of that. Um, and so that's kind of the commonality where we began. And
mm,
in the past few days or weeks, as we've been in those in the group and interacting on various things, Ivo has really seen some deeper depth into these teachings. And to me, that was exciting as Ivo began expressing what he started to see. And to me, that was, I was very excited about that because what he saw was deeper than what the teachings were into the truth of them. And so as I noticed that, I thought, oh, we should talk about this because
mm,
this is actually, the point.
mm.
Um, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to this conversation and to go deeper into what you've seen. So, Ivo, anything for you to introduce yourself and you know?
Yeah. Like you said, we've been interacting the past few weeks. Yeah, and I just don't know what else to say. It's an interesting thing, Sydney Banks, his teachings, and I've been around it, so I'll start there. So I've been around Sydney Banks' teachings for about 6 years. 6 years. And I've done coaching. I've had coaches about how the mind works and everything like that. But the problem was still there. I did not see what those principles really mean. I did not see what he was trying to point to because I was listening to his words. I was listening to what he was saying. And I tried all kinds of things and I saw how I feel was an issue, something to fix, these things. So I tried so many things. If you name it, I've probably done it from the intellect. I've tried everything I could think of. If I have a thought, I could do this to change how I feel, I try it, and then it fails or I feel good for a day and like I panic because I don't know what I'm doing and just a mess. And yeah, I've been really for 6 years trying to figure out how to get to that place. How can I feel happy? That's really what I've been doing.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think I'll leave it at that for introduction. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I love the simplicity with which you said you tried everything, and it's about how can I be happy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was really it. Yeah, I mean, it's so simple that that's the one commonality because we go at it in different ways. Like, I need more money. I've got to have a business. I've got to do this. And what are you doing? What's it all for? And you say, because I got to be happy. I want to be happy. Right?
Mm,
And so we're scrambling around with everything to get to this state. Yeah.
yeah.
So any context around what led you to those teachings or thinking that in exploring some of this, maybe there'd be like, what was life like and what led you to even
Mm.
wonder about?
Well, it's interesting because I've always been interested in self-development since I was 12.
Mm,
I had this thing where I was sort of aware of wisdom at an early age, but I did not know what it is. It's kind of just a feeling that I followed, and it led me down the path of, I remember when I was 12, I went on YouTube and I said how to get a girlfriend because I didn't know, and that kind of thing, that to me is wisdom, is guiding me to find out because I want answers. And I followed that feeling, and throughout I just kind of stuck with it. And then eventually I did a course with a company, and that led to me meeting Ankush.
Ah,
Ankush Jain, I don't know if you know him yet. And
yeah,
then he gave me a book called The Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neal.
yeah,
I read it and that's the first book I read. I don't remember anything in it. But like I read it, I'm like, and again, that same feeling was guiding me to just, ask Ankush. And at that time I wanted to be a coach and all that stuff. And yeah, really that's how I got into it because Ankush shared the books, I read them, I found it interesting, and it's just how it evolved from there, pretty much.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah, Ankush, I know him well, and he's a powerful coach within the Three Principles community, and he's introduced many people to the
Mm,
teachings of Sydney Banks. Michael Neal, again, with his book, The Inside Out Revolution, and several others that he's written, very clear articulator of what that is,
mm,
in the real world. And yes, and I did coach training with Michael Neal as well. So
mm.
yeah, so we have a lot of commonalities in
We
terms of
do.
circling around
Hmm.
this teaching and this understanding.
Yeah.
So there's something more recently that you've seen, and it's interesting because it's like, how did that happen? What were you either looking at or trying to figure out or whatever? And then there was some.
Yeah. Well, the very beginning of it was when I saw a study online being done about, because I had a thought in my head, it's like, can I, because I've done exercise pretty much then half of my life. I'm 24, I started when I was 13. It's 11 years I've been part of that kind of thing. So I know I'm aware of everything that is to do with exercise, but I was like, is it possible to gain strength without actually doing anything, right? Physically.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Um, and because I always dabble in possibilities. What can I do? What is possible? Not what what do I believe is possible? What is possible? What could I do? What could I physically try to do to see if I can figure something out and find an answer for myself? Not in a book, but through experience. And I saw an article, it was this scholar kind of article, and the wording was very like complicated, so it's hard to I really discern this, try to make it simple. And it basically said that there was a study done about people trying to forcefully contract their bicep for, I don't know, it was like 12 weeks, and without actually lifting any weight, but just imagining it contracting as hard as possible for about 15 minutes a day for 12 weeks. And they found that there was a 15% increase in strength without doing anything. So I was like, you know what? That kind of like clicked in. I'm like, you know what? This is possible. And I was like, from that point, I was just went, I want to find out for myself because it's one thing for me to see it and hear about it, but to another completely different thing to experience it. And it's the same with Sid's teachings. And that was the leeway for me to find out about the mental health thing, but I'll get back to that. And so yeah, I wrote down a program and I was like, I'll just start from nothing really. I just thought, what could I do? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to imagine doing an exercise. And I just imagined doing an exercise and really living the exercise, being in it, feeling it, and what it would feel like. And then first 6 days, there was nothing, like literally nothing. And the sixth day, I started to feel a shift in my strength, in my muscles. They felt different. There was a shift in thought, like how I saw my strength, my ability to do the exercise. And then I did a test. So to keep it as controlled as I could, I started on the week, and by that time, I hadn't been training for properly for a year. All I've been doing is a few sets of pull-ups and dips. That's it, nothing else. And so I was no longer at like I used to do very difficult exercises like one-arm pull-ups, human flags, like very
Oh
complex
wow.
stuff. But my strength of that was gone because I haven't practiced there for a long time. So I was very like, I was still had something, but not as much. And from that point on, I was like, you know what? Let's see. I start from how I am now and see what I could do. So at that time, probably I could do maybe if you told me to do pull-ups, I could maybe do 15 maximum. You know, no way could I think about doing one-arm pull-ups. It was a world too far-fetched at that point. Couldn't even imagine it. When I imagined it, I couldn't do it, you know? And then I started day one, I did my thing. I had a little routine, just doing sets, you know, sets of this, simple, like an actual physical workout. And I started doing it. And on day six, on day seven, I was going to test in the physical reality. Is it true or am I making it up? Right.
Mm.
And I went to the park and I've I went to the dips. I remember the first thing I tried was to do dips. At that point, they were hard before the week, right? I went on the bar. As soon as I touched it, I felt completely different. Nothing like a week ago. Nothing. It was like I was 3 to 4 times stronger.
Oh,
Ridiculous. I
wow.
was like, what is this? My mom like, what's going on? I was shocked. I didn't know what to think of it at the time. And I went on the bar and I did white pull-ups. So all the way up, all the way down. And I wanted to see how much I can do maximum. I did 25. My all-time best is 32, right? My all-time best when I was doing physical exercise and stuff. And what happened is the more I did the mental exercise, the more my strength about me being able to do the one-arm pull-up came back naturally because I've been focusing on the muscles, right? I was like, you know what? I will see if I can beat my one-arm pull-up record without actually training it. And that was 4, right? And I
Wow.
was like, again, an experiment to see if I can do it, right? To see if I can learn something. And I did 2 weeks of that. And each week I tested it on the one-arm pull-up. Within 2 weeks, I did 4.5. I even have video of it, yeah, without
Oh,
doing anything. And on my left, I did 3, right? And I kid you not. I remember when I had to warm up before doing it to prevent injury, etc. When I first did a pull up, I never felt my body so light. In all the years of doing it physically, I never felt pull ups feel so light. I felt like I was 20 kilos and I was just doing it. Like that was my body weight. That's what it felt like. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. I was like, what's going on? And that is what, and to this day, I do this. I still physically exercise, but it's like it said, once you have a shift, you never go back to what you were before, right? And I was like, hold on, I can do this physically. And all the while I've been doing this physical exercise and, experimenting with it, I thought, well, what it can do, if I can do with my mental health, can I do that? Can I shift how I feel by changing what I'm paying attention to consciously and giving life to it the same way I'm giving life to me trying to practice doing one-arm pull-up? Can I do it? And I remember speaking to my friend about it, and I was like, man, I was telling him about it, and I was like, I'm going to try with my mental health, and I was excited, and I told him I really don't know where to start, and there's so many opportunities, like I was just like literally infinite. I don't know where to start. What do I pick? And I was like, I'm just going to start. The first, like I wrote in the post, the first week was I felt like it just shifted and like I felt completely different. I felt like at ease. All the problems I had disappeared, and I panicked. After day
Mm.
about 6, I panicked. I'm like, oh my, I'm gonna lose it. I might have to hold on to it. And I started to analyze it. I try to find it. I try to find the feeling through the intellect, which is not possible. I can't do it. And I didn't realize that at the time. And week 2, I thought there was, again, experimentally, I thought there was a relationship between the strength of my gut, my organs, and how well I can manage emotions. If they're stronger, I could manage it better. That's what I thought. That didn't go well. That failed, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to shift it to something else. And I started to pay attention to visualize situations. So, for example, I would visualize a situation. Let's say I'm talking to you, right? And I would visualize exactly how I would feel in that moment, and then what I want to create and how I want to be in that moment and feel it and give life to that instead of being, for example, nervous. I would give life to me being completely relaxed, taking my time. And what started to happen is been week 3 is like 11th day of after week 3, and now I don't remember how I was being before. And the thing about it, it feels timeless. You know, when I did it, I lose track of time. If I don't have a calendar, I could tell you how long have you been feeling like this? I will tell you years. It's timeless. It feels I can't put it, you can't mold it into time. And it's like it's the same with physical activity. It's some people might feel it's impossible to do that in a week. Is it? You might think if you've not experienced it, but from what I've seen, what I felt, it's possible. And this is what led me to believe and even confirm to me even more that anything is possible. Absolutely anything. And that's pretty much the story of how it occurred.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. What I'm loving about this is I mean, I talk about the in the work that I do, I say you can be or do or have anything. You
Yeah.
can be or do or have anything. And and the group, it's asking it is given, how thoughts become things, right? And everybody's looks and says, oh, this some kind of technique, and we're gonna figure out the techniques or the ways, and it's too hard. It's just so hard to explain. It's not a technique. This isn't like you said, I hadn't heard it like this before, but you said, I wanted to know what is possible, not what I believe is possible, not what I think is possible. I
Mm,
wanted to know what is possible.
yeah.
And so it's like, so that even just the way you said that is kind of like what is possible beyond my thinking,
Mm,
beyond thinking what is possible,
mm-hmm.
beyond belief what is possible. And and Sydney Banks used those words. He said what I am talking about is beyond belief. It is
Mm,
beyond the word, right? But can listen to that all day. I always thought he meant, oh, it's really, really big. It's big. It's beyond the current belief that I have. But he
mm.
just meant it's beyond any belief. He didn't mean my belief. He just
Yeah.
meant any belief.
Mm,
He's talking
mm,
about an entirely different possibility.
mm,
What is possible, and it doesn't have to do with beliefs and thinking and all of that kind of stuff.
mm.
This is very hard to communicate.
It
Um,
is. It is.
you had 6 years where you
Oh my.
explored it and there was coaching and all of that, but it's hard to communicate. And then you realized something.
Mm,
You saw something for yourself. This is the only thing that makes any difference,
mm-hmm.
is what you see for yourself, which is what happened to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was all through experimenting, not
Hmm.
latching onto something and watching videos. I want to go out and find out for myself. Like as I've said it many times, and I've written about it in Asking It Is Given, the group, um, how when I was anxious one morning going to work, and at that time I still thought and believed the anxiety was a problem to be fixed, right? And so the experiment, the thought came from, could I actually change my state of mind by literally choosing a thought? Don't know how to word this so it makes sense because it's very hard to describe. Is I remember, so what I did is I know how I felt anxious, right? And I remember in the back of my mind, I was like, what do I want to feel right now? As an experiment. And I was like, confidence. Okay, cool. So I searched in my mind, right? I searched to find something to find a thought that gave feeling to confidence. And I gave life to that. In that moment, like that, anxiety was gone. The need to look for approval, it just gone, vanished. I could not believe it. I tell you, I was like, I don't know what just happened. I was scratching my head and I was confused. And I was like, what? And at that moment, I was like, okay, maybe, but then it wasn't until days on later when I continued to do it and saw it deeper and deeper and deeper. I was like, whoa, I actually realized what thought is, what Sydney Banks means. And
Wow.
now I went and I was drawn again from wisdom to go watch his videos now. and I hear everything he's saying. It makes sense beyond his words.
It's worse.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, never heard him speak like this before because it's a different reality now. And I was like, wow, amazing. Just
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like what you said. It's very interesting what you said. You said, I realized or I saw what thought is.
Mm.
Say more about what that realization.
Ah, well, I'll give you an example today. I'm still flabbergasted by it. It's the only time in my life I've ever seen such reality, and I did not believe it's possible before. It never crossed my mind. So I went out, with my mom, and I went to a place where I've always felt anxious in the past. It was where there's a lot of people, right? And I went there and I was walking around, and because I have a kind of I want to call it a routine of creation. I can say more about that later if you want, but I've been changing energy I put into certain thoughts. I've changed from, let's say, for example, I feel a thought. Like last night, I realized, well, what is with my people pleasing behavior? I'm just thinking about and wondering, and I'm just writing everything that comes to me, everything. And I was like, a thought came into my mind. I need approval. Once I realized what that is, I understood exactly why my behavior was the way it is. I understood that that thought, given life, if there's life given into that thought, creates the reality of I need approval. So every behavior, every action I take from that point will be in line with that, And I was like, holy shit, and then I went out today, and when I did my, kind of like the mental routine, and I was paying attention to the thought, I don't need approval, and I felt it. I felt it in my body, and how I thought, and the thoughts that came from it were different, thoughts I never thought of before. And I went out, you know, and I did not feel anxious when I went out. In fact, I saw everyone, like I had an insight that, and it kind of made me chuckle. Everyone is an expression of thought. Everybody, everyone, every facial expression, everything is an expression of thought. And I found it so hilarious. I'm walking around and I'm seeing people angry. I'm seeing them suffering. I'm seeing them happy. I'm seeing all kinds of shapes. And there's no judgment. There's just love. It's comical. I'm like, I'm living in a dream and I see thought everywhere. And there's a woman, like previously, if a woman laughed at me, I would have been, oh my God, I'm like insecure. There was a woman who laughed at me and I found it hilarious because what she did, she latched onto a thought that was funny and her face expressed the nature of thought. I was like, what is this? What is this? What am I living in? And my whole way on my way back home, I just seeing people and just as I saw everyone's beautiful. I just seen the beauty in everyone, that the expression of life, that is what it is. Everything that they think is expressed in their body. I'm like, wow, because I saw it in myself first. It was not an intellectual thing. It was, I cannot really explain it. It's just I see it,
Yeah.
it's kind of like see it. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
and every problem is like, there is none. There is none. There's just none, and so wow, you know. Even when we started the call, I felt nervous, and in the back of my mind, I was laughing because I know what's happening. I'm latching onto something that's making me feel nervous. It's not you or the call. I was like, wow, this is just amazing. It just is, you know?
And
Yeah.
it's always playing out. It's always playing out. I that's so important what you said because it's like so important what you said, even like of oh, the beginning of the call, I felt nervous. See, a lot of people is they kind of go, oh, okay, so then once I see this, then that's good because then I'm not going to be nervous, right? Then at that it's sort of like, is it a cure? Is this like a cure for
Mm.
something?
Well, when I was 6 years ago, before this insight, I would have thought the same thing, and I did.
Yeah.
You know, that seeing thought is secure, and I will never feel like that again. But that was from the intellect. You,
Yes.
I realize, and every time I get an insight, I have notepad on my phone, and I just write everything down. And I realized, you know, let me actually find it because gonna there's so many, and it's like just keep coming, and it's hold on. It came to me yesterday, and it says fixing excites the intellect, and, and what was the other one?
Mm.
And go. Fixing excites the intellect, creating excites the energy of creation. And I was like, wow.
Oh,
And those two things, when I saw the fixing excites the intellect, I was like, the only problem that ever exists is created from intellect. When I try to create a feeling from something that doesn't create a feeling, it's an endless loop.
oh, wow.
It cannot be done. And I realized that it cannot be done. I cannot, because I've tried so many things. I've tried bioenergetic grounding, I've tried meditation, breath work, everything I could think of. But that was from the intellect. Those things are already created. I need to go to what creates to create a feeling, not what's already there. I was like, that's it. And I saw it. And like, and those sentences have come from that place, you
Yeah.
know, and I cannot explain what it is. So I can't, you know?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Those are powerful statements. When you said them, they really, it's, I get what they come from that place because when
Yeah.
you said them, they froze me in my tracks.
Mm,
They,
mm,
they, uh, interrupted the intellect
mm,
because I'm listening, right, with intellect to understand. And then these two statements just kind of just interrupted the intellect.
mm,
And and really resonated. It's kind of like I knew they were true.
mm,
I knew what you just said was true.
mm,
And that was, and but my intellect would have to catch up to sort
mm,
of say, why is this true what he just said? Why is this true? Like I would have to catch up to it. It's
mm,
like the knowing that there's this is true what you just said, and then to try to now put into words why is it true? It's an after the fact.
mm,
And but that there's such a powerful distinction in this is fixing excites the intellect. The us having a problem is engaging of the intellect.
mhm,
The
mhm,
intellect is so interested in a problem because it is all every problem. I think you may have said this before. I'll say this often to clients where I'll say that every problem you have is a thought created problem. It is a thought constructed, actually, a
mm,
better word. It is a thought constructed problem. And so, and I use a lot of humor where I say, you don't actually have any real problems. You only have thought constructed problems. You've only got a problem with thinking. It's the
mm,
only problem you've got is a problem with thinking. And there's something about that which so some people may hear as dismissive. What do you mean? These are real problems. Don't dismiss them as it's just thinking problems. But when you realize the power of thought, then it's not dismissive.
mm,
You can't dismiss thought.
mhm,
Thought is the only creator in the universe. It is an energy. It's like you said, and creating excites the energy of creation. What Sydney Banks pointed to it was kind of confusing because he uses the same word, right? He says, I'm talking about, thought with a capital T. I don't mean thought with a little t. So it gets confusing because what do you mean
Mm,
thought with a capital T and a little t? And the thought he was talking about is an energy, an energy. It's
mm,
formless. Whereas the little t thought is my thought.
mm,
The one where you said, I need approval. There's form. That one
mm,
has form.
mm,
But the creator is the energy that then lives it, turns
mm,
it into a 3D reality all around you. It makes it
mm,
what's real in the world, right? So it's like, and that comes in, is formed in these thoughts. I don't think I can do this. I don't, I've never done anything like this before. I don't think I could do it. I'm insecure, like feel insecure
mm,
about, well, yeah, this is created. You are
mm,
creating a reality, a real reality.
mm.
And then it's like, but this is a problem. This is my problem. And it's like, yes, but you're creating it. I would never create a problem. Well, I'm not saying you did it on purpose. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that's how all problems are created. It is
Mm,
like that. So it's kind of funny, but like spinning around in a way.
mm,
Wow.
mm. Yeah. And it's interesting what you said about the form and the formless. And it's a thing that I've tried to describe and I could never do it. You know, what Sid says, a thought on its own is neutral until you put life into it. And when I heard that again, it made complete sense to me because in order for me to feel a thought, I need to give life to it. And I managed to find a way to do that consciously,
Hmm.
right? Through, and that came from the experiment of physical exercise because that is what I was doing. I was putting energy into thought to create a reality that my body could perform, right? And I managed to do that. And that is very hard to describe. And the only thing that comes to my mind is when the Chinese, I don't know if you've heard the phrase chi energy. When they say
Yes.
the movement of chi, that is the closest thing I could come to explaining or kind of pointing to what that feels like. Because I can move energy to any part of my body if I want to. I can put awareness there and give thought to it. And for example, with my knee injury, like it's painful. And I was like, hold on a second, it's painful, and that's occurring in thought. What is it telling me? What is it trying to show me? What is my body trying to communicate? That is an issue. Then I can put something into it to kind of fix it, quote unquote, to change. Because the pain is like a signal in the car. That's how I see it. And I was like, hold on a second. Then I need to open the engine bay, see what's going on. And I started to put energy into that area to focus on it and try to create what I want my knee to be like. And
Hmm.
the pain started to dissipate day by day and it got stronger. I was like, and again, that came from a wanting to experiment to see if it's possible. And yeah, it's a constant, ongoing, kind of teaching is coming from
Yes.
within.
Yes, that's what I'm really picking up on is this experimenting, which I think it's become so valuable,
Mm,
even to me. I mean, I'm a coach. I'm trained as a coach, right?
mm,
Like that. But more and more, there's just the realization that it's something that in Abraham Hicks, Abraham says, words don't teach. Words don't teach. Only your own life experience can teach you.
mm,
And so and I kind of resisted that for a long time. I still think there's probably a bit of with
mm,
it because it's like, oh, no, they can. Just watch me. I'll be able to explain this so well. Just give me a chance. I'm going to be able to explain it so well that someone will actually get it, right?
mm,
but it's the further you look, the more you start to see it doesn't matter how much you explain, it doesn't matter how much the intellect tries to understand. As you said, you know 6 years you were around this and you worked with coaches and you read
Mm,
about it, you listened to all of Sid's videos, you read the
mm-hmm,
books and all of that. And so, but then experiments. Experiments are entirely different because experiments are really showing you from an actual experience.
mm-hmm,
And so, and then, and then an experiment which takes you to something which is beyond what you believe or don't believe.
yeah.
It wouldn't matter. I could have talked to you, I'm sure, prior and said, okay, so you read about this idea that you could train in your mind, but do you really believe it? And you might have said, no, I don't believe that. I read that. I've done physical, I've been training my body for years. And now these
Mm,
guys saying that there's some relationship that you could do this in your mind. I mean, no, I
mm,
don't believe that.
mm,
There's no way that could be true because I've seen how you actually build muscle. There's no way this could be true. So intellectually, that's there.
mm,
Experiments are how can you argue with your experience?
mm,
How
yeah.
can you argue with your experience? If you
Mm,
experiment with something and then this happens, and you're doing one-arm pull-ups, how would you argue with this experiment? How could you dispute the fact that this was your actual experience? This is something that you have seen and know,
mm,
and whether you believed it or not.
mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm. Yeah,
interesting.
and I remember telling my colleague about it, you know, and he tried to rationalize it,
Oh yes,
and he was lost for words. He couldn't because you cannot intellectualize creation like that. You cannot do it. You just, I mean, that's what I've tried to do for so many years. It can't be done until I actually, and the experiment is what showed me, like you said, the importance of it is it's kind of like when it's like Sid says, look within. I was like, okay, he said look within, but I'm still listening to him. If I've just taken that at that point in time and looked within, I was like, I'm gonna try it. I played around with thought, try to make myself feel bad, try to make myself feel good. I would have learned something, and this is what I did. I was like, play with it. There's no rules, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
This is so powerful. I've had insights into this. Words don't teach, only life experience can. And I've wrapped it into some of the work that I'm doing where I just stop talking and we give them experiments. Just
Mm,
stopped explaining. And so with a colleague, there's a program we do called Living Miraculously, but that's exactly the thing. Then we give a homework.
mm, mm,
And for a long time, I kind of misunderstood. See, this was a big misunderstanding of Sid's teaching, because Sid said you don't need any practices. You don't need a practice. You don't need to do anything to get to this because this is always there, right? You don't actually need a practice. So I heard that and I kind of thought, okay, so stay away from all technique, all tip, like don't give anything to anybody ever. Just and it kind of left me in only talk, right?
mm,
Talk and try to quiet and see what they see and like that. But there's something about a seeing of, we give people experiments like go forward with a expect to see something miraculous today, or note in a miracle journal, walk
mm,
around and then note in a miracle journal the miracles you start to see. And there's something about the experience of experiencing this that just then starts to be indisputable, that
mm,
there's something going on I haven't noticed before.
mm,
And that's the sort of realization that is not me trying to do something. And so it's been powerful with these little, exercises, and we make them fun and they're just play. But now people can see for themselves.
mm,
And then when we meet in our sessions, they can just talk about, well, what did you see? What did you notice? What's going on in your life? And then they can see from their actual experience rather than kind of debating whether it works
mm,
or not.
mm. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is beautiful. Yeah, yeah. Because what you said, I heard Sid, like that thing of stay away from techniques, and I did. But I then went back to it and I try to fix how I feel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very, yeah. I was thinking, oh, how would this call go and all that stuff, and what would come out of it. Like, yeah, I'm still in shock, you know. I was like, I did not expect, or did I anticipate, or did I? Because I stopped listening to Sid 2 years ago, and I've
Yeah.
just gone on living my life, and I was just like shy, insecure, and all that stuff, and looking for answers. But I was like, I felt like kind of not compelled to go to the three principles, and then I started with the experiments, and that was the kind of the new thing, and it's like, oh, and it kind of like you said, the experience, it taught me, it kind of like seeing from within. It kind of like, well, it's an experience. Like when you feel something, you experience it is within. If like it's almost like saying, oh, I've never had ice cream, and you tell me about ice cream and how it tastes and all that stuff. I could never know what ice cream tastes like until I actually taste it.
Right.
And then I know what you mean now. It's good, and that's kind of how I saw it. Yeah.
What a great metaphor. What a great metaphor. We could have the conversation, I could talk about it, and you could say, "Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't like that. I don't like stuff like that. It's no, that sounds too sweet. Oh no, it sounds like the wrong texture. It sounds like
Mm,
you can argue forever about it, right? Until
yeah.
this is like, but try it, and then you have a knowing that's
Mm,
beyond all our words, right?
mm, yeah.
Then
Yeah.
there's a knowing.
And you said about techniques. Well, in my post, I haven't said this because it would take too long to explain, but I can say it here if you don't mind. Like there is a doing,
Yeah.
right? But it's from an energetic place. There
Mm,
is a thought. I shift focus from one thought to the other. And the thing is, in the past, I always panicked when I feel good because I know deep down this is not how I feel at my core. It's just a fleeting thought I've paid attention to, right? At that time, I was intellectualizing and like, I know this will go away. And it did, right? Because I did not understand it. Where is it coming from, right? Intellectual thought, what does that mean, right? But now it's like, well, I have like a list of what I want to create, right? Thoughts that I pay attention to. But even now, I'm seeing, well, the thought in itself, the only thing that is useful for me, like for example, the thought of I don't need approval. I don't care what thought gives me the feeling of I don't need approval. The feeling is what I care about. Because from
mm,
the feeling is that the action and the behavior and everything, that's where it comes from. Like the thought is kind of like just gets me to that point to feel. From there, it's kind of unfolds. I let it do its thing. And what I was getting to is that I'm at a point now, no matter how low my level of understanding or consciousness gets, I still return. I still don't feel shy. I still don't feel like a people please. It's a normal thing. It's kind of like I've taken the old, seen what it's doing to me, thrown it out because I realized what and that is what's the reality that I'm paying attention to. Put in like Sid was like, put in a new CD, let's play, give life to it, new reality. So in that moment, I was like, hold on, Every thought is a reality, and if there's life given to that thought, there is no problem. The only thing is, everything feels different. Every thought would feel different, you know? And then I was like, if that's true, then my intellect has no say because it cannot fathom that because it tries to look for problems because something feels not nice. And then that's when it's like, well, I feel like this. What do I do about it? I was like, you know, and it's like, it's even right now, it's hard to describe.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know,
I
it's,
love the way you said that. See, in saying that, this is me hearing it. It's like you fell into the source
mm,
before thought.
exactly, exactly. And then I was like, what do I want to create? And I just literally wait what comes up to me, feeling, right? And like that I was saying about this chi, it's like from a word's perspective, and I don't know how words, how well they can convey what I'm trying to say, but it's like I'm putting energy into thought. And then it's kind of blossoms, like it's thought is the seed, but without water and sun, there is no tree.
Yes.
And all I'm doing is giving sun and water to it, and then I allow creation to do its thing. That's it, you
Yeah.
know. And I just yeah could not believe, man, like seeing beauty in everyone. 3 weeks ago, I was so judgmental. I was arguing with you on Facebook about something you were saying, and I could not remember what it is now. But I had so much hate in me, and for the past and all that stuff. And now I see, well, all I've done is taken hateful thought, given life to it. That's my reality. That was it. It's like, oh my God. I can literally, like you say, you can think anything. I'm like, yeah, I can think anything. And last night I was in bed and always these thoughts come to my mind when I'm in bed. And I was like, you know what? With physical training, I'm if everything is thought, can I create, because I've had dreams where I don't feel fatigue when I feel
Mm.
do exercise. I don't feel fatigue. And again, same thing. Is it possible? Can I do it? Kind of excites me. And I was like, last night I was like, I believe, right? I think my body is made of, cells, muscle, tissue, etc., right? And they behave a certain way. That's what I think. If my body and thought are the same thing, like the energy is just one formless into form, I was like, what if I can imagine a thought where my body is actually like I have robotic arms, kind of that thing. And
Mm.
I was like, well, how do I want to create it? Kind of like coming from that place again, trying to find a thought and trying to give life to it. And I imagined it. And what started to happen when I was doing my mental workout today is from that place, I like imagine my arms and specific areas being made of steel and being highly resistant to fatigue and giving life to that. And what happened in my mind was doing mental exercises is when I switched the thought of before the reality that I was in, that I could do XYZ in terms of weight, to the reality of no, I'm more like my muscle is actually a machine. It can be whatever I wanted to believe it to be, right? Like there was significant kind of shift in feeling and what I'm capable to do because I chose a thought that was way more capable to handle what I wanted to do compared to the other one. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And this is relatively new to me. This is what I'm sitting with. And just again, going deeper and trying to see what is there, and like trying to explore the unknown basically to see what I can uncover for myself.
Yeah, yeah. Back to what you had said. You're interested in what is possible, not
Mm,
what you believe is possible.
yeah.
It's fascinating how this takes you into more and more and more and more and more and more and more. When you go into that, the possibilities are infinite, they're endless.
Mm,
In other words, I'll often say in my coaching, my work, I'll say, you are far more than you think.
mm,
You are far more than you think. And so that glimpsing into, as you fall in, there's infinite thoughts available, right?
Yeah.
The you that you think you are is microscopic. Sid said that. He said, you know, there is an energy of all things, what
Mm,
some would call God. It is infinite energy of all things. And you are a microscopic aspect of that energy. That's a very good description.
mm, mm. Yeah. 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 I love that. I love that. And again, from experience, I can relate to it, Because I was
Right.
like, yeah, that sounds good and cute.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Start to spin the
Yeah.
wheels,
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you just said, reminded me of what I saw. I saw exactly that everyone's kind of using the three principles to live life. They're using energy to live life, and what they look like is an expression of thought. Comedy. I was like, man, this is crazy, and I was like, it's just because I saw it myself. I'm like, this is amazing. It's like everyone's on their own unique thought. Their body, their shape, their hair, how they dress, everything is made from that. Everything around me is that. I'm like, man, this is incredible, incredible. I'm like, man, this wow. And everything that I've ever taken personally, gone like that because I saw what it is. Everyone's playing their own game,
Oh,
and
that's powerful. That's
yeah,
powerful.
everyone is, like the woman kind of laughing at me. And before I would have taken it personally, me creating my own reality, and she's doing the same. And I used to have a big panic of being abandoned when I felt the feeling of being abandoned or being threatened or feeling that way. I panicked, right? I always felt I needed to fix other people's feelings, especially my mom's, right? And recently, me and her had a kind of like, I wouldn't even call it an argument, but we were arguing about a traffic light where there was a zebra crossing at just a traffic light,
Yes.
something silly. And I saw what she's doing. I could not stop laughing. She's, I could not, I tell you, I could not stop laughing. She was like, she's complaining, and I'm like, I see all she's doing is thought. That's what she's doing. She's just saying it. And I could not, even now it's funny. In the morning, she was, annoyed at something, and it's just funny. It's not personal. She's doing it to herself, and she doesn't even know. It's funny to me. It's wow, like, wow. And it's in no way kind of making fun of her or anyone that experiences stuff because as much as I felt love for everyone when I went out today, it's as well I felt sad because I have a friend who's suffering from anxiety and stuff. It is sad to see people suffering. They don't know it. They don't know what's going on. And I was that person, desperately looking for a way out. And all I could really say is I'm thankful for what I've seen. I'm thankful that I've opened my mind to the possibility of what there is, the infinite, and yeah, just a glimpse of it. It's just yeah,
Yeah.
powerful.
And what's so beautiful about that is when you see it for yourself, and I heard this as you described, when you see it for yourself, you see it in every person.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
you see the same thing in every person. It's
mm,
like it's whoever you thought they were and what you thought they were doing and who they are compared to you. And there's
mm,
some are so much better and others aren't. It's like all of that stuff. The moment you have the realization for yourself, you're like, this is all of us. We're
mm,
all that. It's
yeah,
all of us. And it's what Sid said, and this is very misunderstood as well in my perspective, is he really said, be normal, be ordinary, be ordinary, because that what you saw is very ordinary. What you saw is not special. This is what it is. It's like this isn't special. This is what it is. This is what we
mm,
are all doing. And
mm,
so then, because he pointed that too, right? Because the ego then wants to take it to say, oh, this is really, you're special, you're beyond now what every other, like all that kind of stuff, right? And he says, be ordinary. It's normal. This is what normal is.
mm,
And so and that's why that, I've heard now a few times as you pointed to your realization is that you felt love. When
mm.
you see
Yeah.
people, you feel
Pure,
love.
pure. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
When you see what everyone's doing, there's nothing left but that. No judgment. Even if people are nasty and giving me dirty looks or being horrible, it's just a reality. That's what it
Yeah.
is, you know?
Wow. That is beautiful. What an incredible conversation this has been.
Yeah.
I'm sensing it may not be our last conversation. So, because you're on a very strong momentum and
Mm,
path, and what I'm really appreciating is, and with your experimenting and
mm,
deciding to really explore a little bit more, I can really see how you'll just keep seeing deeper and deeper. I mean, we all do, right? That's what it is. We all do,
mm,
but you're being very active about it, very fascinated about it.
mm,
It's very much compelled to do and to look
mm,
deeper and deeper. So that's exciting. Yeah.
mm. Thank you. Thank you. And I watched some of your YouTube videos and I found it fascinating. And I was like, "Well, this makes sense what you're saying, And I love how when you speak, you take time to pause between the words so it can land. I'm like, this
Mm.
is powerful because it's not rushed. It's like you take time to delivery. Don't know if it's deliberate, just to explain it. I was like, that is beautiful in it itself. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
I determined, and people in the group will laugh at me that I'm a geek, technical geek. I need the right word, the very precise nuance for what
Mm,
is it's like to distinguish this from this. I'm such a geek like about it. It is like, and that's why I'm laughing because I go, well, they say words don't teach. And I'm like, yeah, but just give me a chance.
I'll show you.
I'll show you. Just give me a chance. I'll show you that I can use words and actually communicate this. So for me, it's like when I think this is my fascination, is with an
Mm,
ability to express and to share this in more and more and more and more compelling and clear ways, more
mm,
articulate ways. It's
mm,
like that I'm just that's my inspiration.
mm.
It's about
Oh, that's lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Wow.
Cool. Thank you for
Well,
the conversation. I
yes,
I really appreciated it.
yes.
And I love that it came from nothing, just flowing. And again, back to it, it's fascinating. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for it.
Yes.
Thank
Really
you.
great to finally connect in a live
Yes,
conversation, Ivo.
likewise.
You're just a beautiful human being, a beautiful
Thank you.
person.
Thank you.
Much love to you, and I look forward to our continued
Me
engagement in
too.
the group, and something tells me more conversations. So
Yeah. Thank you.
beautiful.
Appreciate it.
Have a
Thank you.
great rest of the day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
All right. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.